Welcome back to The Price of Business. I am your host, Kevin Price, talking to you about you and your business. Talking to Steve Parkhurst, talking about what's going on in the economy and the public policy front and that type of thing. Interesting conversation about the whole situation with ObamaCare, as we affectionately call it. And I think it took a beating last week by the Supreme Court. If I was a fan of ObamaCare, I would not have been real happy by the type of questions that were asked by those members of the Supreme Court, particularly those by Anthony Kennedy, who is probably going to be the deciding factor in what the court does. Your thoughts?
I very much agree with you. I think it was a kind of a formality to have the other 8 justices around. I think they should have just presented their case to Kennedy and let him decide yay or nay, and let him be the decider, because obviously it's going to be 4-4, and then whatever he decides. If I were on the side of Obamacare, I would not have been impressed with the line of questioning last week. I would not have been impressed with just the kind of overall feel. There started to be some news reports last week about Democrats starting to kind of feel a little bit worried in D.C. and stuff like that. So it definitely was not a good week for the Obamacare mandate.
Yeah, but ironically, and I like to get your thoughts, there's kind of a contrarian view out there that I'm beginning to buy into, that the rough time Obamacare itself got may translate to be helpful for the Democrats in November. Because, if the court decides in June or July to abolish Obamacare altogether, which it seems very likely, because this mandate part, pretty much everything hinges on the mandate part. If you don't have the funding, how does the program work? If that happens, one of the referendum issues for Barack Obama disappears. One of the things that has held back job growth and job creation is the economic impact of Obamacare. That disappears, which means a lot of that uncertainty all of a sudden is gone, and people begin to hire again. It could end up becoming the thing that actually saves Barack Obama. Your thoughts? Ironically.
Yeah, I'm certainly open to that argument. We live in a very different world now as far as, your sound bites and all of that. If I'm running a campaign against Obama, I'm still, and frankly, if I'm running a campaign against somebody who voted for Obamacare, I'm still very much using the fact that these people voted for it and that Obama pushed it through if I'm running a campaign against Obama.
Yeah.
Because the overall concept is that he wanted this, he got it, he did what it took. He made, slimy deals with, Sestak and all these some of these congressmen, the one from senator from Nebraska.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Stuff like that. I think that
the Louisiana Purchase, all that fun stuff.
Right,
yeah.
Right. Exactly. So I still think there's a case to be made, and I still think you can, Obamacare against Obama and, frankly, anybody that voted for it, because people are going to remember the fact that it did pass. And Obama very much, and in fact, remember the Democrats, Pelosi and all these guys were marching down the street with a big giant gavel in D.C. to pass Obamacare. Those are powerful visuals, and people remember that. And so I don't think they can run and hide from it. Now, obviously, the big media, big networks and all that, they will do their best to paint, a different story. But it'll be very tough to run from it. So
yeah, it's going to be a very difficult narrative for them.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, no question about it. All right, well, here we are. I guess tomorrow we got another, primary, woohoo, in Wisconsin, and it appears that Mr. Romney is poised to win that. You've got some of the old line establishment guys like the President 41, George H.W. Bush, and now you got Jeb Bush, which really disappointed me, endorsing Mitt Romney, but at the same time not surprised. It seems like everyone's being corralled now to get behind Romney.
Yeah, I agree with that. You mentioned George H.W. Bush, and I wasn't surprised by that. Two endorsements that happened recently that I was very surprised by were Marco Rubio and Paul Ryan.
Mm-hmm. I was real disappointed by both of those. Right,
and as was I. And I think what you're dealing with is just kind of like what you mentioned. It's kind of the inevitability type of thing. It's, I saw Gingrich over the weekend. He did a radio interview, I want to say up in Wisconsin, where he said, it was apparent that Romney is the front runner, but that, he was going to have to work to get to the 1144 delegates that he needs. When you have one of his main opponents saying that, I find it hard to believe that it's anybody other than Romney at this point. So I've started to see a couple of things, via Twitter and whatnot that say that Romney needs to go ahead and start his general election campaign. And I was not a Romney supporter, but I'm kind of falling in line with that, where it's like, it's time to go ahead and get started. I guess we can hope for a big name or conservative vice presidential candidate, and maybe that's what the fight right now is all about, is what's going to happen at the convention in August.
Well, Rubio and Ryan getting behind him, those are names that have both been mentioned, especially Rubio as a potential VP.
Yeah, a long time ago. Well, and I say a long time ago in the current news media, it does seem like a long time ago, but it was sometime late last year. They were.
That's decades ago. Anyway, go ahead.
Absolutely, yeah, that's exactly my point. Yeah. But there was a lot of comment going around that basically the presidential primary was just a determination of who was going to be Rubio's running mate.
Yeah.
Meaning, who was going to be at the top of the ticket, that Rubio was already assumed. So. That could be one way. Paul Ryan, if this is going to be an economy election, if you look at what happened to us in 2008, where we had the financial meltdown towards the end of the year, and you had, John McCain and Sarah Palin out there, who neither one will be ever confused with, Nobel laureate economists. If McCain had chosen Romney as his running mate, that might have made a difference that year, because Romney could have talked about the economic issues that the country was facing at the time on a whole different level than what Sarah Palin had to say or what John McCain had to say. Yeah. So it just depends. If this comes down to a budget election and a finance, everybody's paying attention to their wallets and everything. I mean, look at gas prices. They continue to go up. If it's going to be about the pocketbook issues, then I think it makes sense to maybe have Paul Ryan as the vice presidential nominee and let him be out there fighting on the budget.
Well, I got to tell you, and I only got a minute left, Rubio has a little bit of a reputation before he got elected to U.S. Senate as a big government conservative. You probably know that. He passed some pretty big budgets as Speaker of the Florida House of Representatives. And, he's exciting, he's interesting, he's dynamic. But if Mitt Romney is on the head of that ticket, we better have someone that's really going to placate real conservatives like you and me on the bottom of that ticket.
Yeah, I agree. Rubio is definitely a thinker. I do like Rubio. He had written a book called 100 Solutions for Florida's Future that I read several years ago. Newt Gingrich had actually written the foreword to it. He's a big thinker. He's able to think outside the box and just kind of come up with new ideas. But you're right. I mean, there are certainly some elements of big government in what he used to do. I think as a United States Senator, he's been tamped down a little bit as far as that goes.
Yeah.
One of the things that concerns me about him was last year,
Hey, I got to go, so don't go on another story.
Yeah.
Oh, boy, it takes you a minute to get warmed up, but once you do, I don't know where to turn you off. All right, Steve Parkhurst is his name. Go to usdailyreview.com. Put in Steve Parkhurst. See his great content. Thanks, buddy.
You bet.
When we come back, much more for you right here on The Price of Business.